Here we go. Come on, come on. Susan, why don't you start up here while I... Come on up here. Susan has a travel story, and she's told it once before, but I've asked her if she would please do it again. And Susan, when you come down, can you come down this way? I don't want you to trip on the cords. She has a really good travel story. So I would like us to wish her a happy birthday. So I sing off key, so I'm going to turn the mic off, but let's all get started, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Susan. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. Okay, then I'll go. Susan is in charge of the refreshments, so if you've got a coffee and a cookie, you can thank Susan. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So you're going to tell your hotel story.
Okay. I went off for a overnight with some friends, and we stayed at a hotel, and we just had a wonderful evening and made plans for the next day. We're going to meet at 9 o'clock for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. So I go to bed and I have cochlear implants both sides. So I can't sleep with them. They're just too uncomfortable. So I take out my cochlears and go right off to sleep. I woke about 7. I thought, oh, well, I'll just doze until about 7:30. Well, I woke up with a blast at 9:05, and I thought, oh, my goodness, what's happening? Well, my poor friends, they had been calling, pounding on the door. They just knew that something terrible had happened to me. So when I finally got my cochlears back on and heard the phone ringing and the door banging and reassured everybody I was really all right. And since after that time I learned from our estimable Toni here, who knows everything concerning hearing problems, she said, you know, hotels have to have devices for people that have a hearing problem. When you check in, you tell them you have a hearing problem, and they give you one of these devices that you either hang on your door or under your bed. If the phone rings or the door is knocked on, you get some shaking that wakes you up and alerts you. If there's a fire, I mean, just think, if that place had caught fire, well, I'd be toast. So anyway, really keep aware of these special devices that are available for those of us that have really severe and profound hearing loss. Thank you, Susan. I thank you.
And I'm going to expand a little bit about these hotel motel kits. Does anybody else have a travel story that that has something to do with your hearing loss? Funny? Not so funny? Nope. Joyce wants to tell a movie story.
Well, I did.
Okay.
How many of you use the hearing devices at the movie theaters? Well, I went to see Paul the Apostle at the Aliso Viejo, and I've used their Caption one many times. So when I went, the first one they gave me didn't work. The battery ran out. I charged back out there, and I said, this doesn't work. He gave me another one. It didn't work. I charged back out, and I said, I want some credit for this. I'm going to stay with my friends, but I cannot hear the movie. So I got a credit to go back to the movie. Just ask.
Okay, back to travel. Thank you, Joyce.
Can I make a comment about her glasses, though? I'm sorry? I just want to make a comment about your glasses because she's talking about the Google glasses that you get,
Sony glasses.
the Sony glasses at the movie theater, and you put them on, and then you can read the closed captioning right in front of your eyes. But I got them, I do not have a hearing loss, but I got them so I could practice with them. And you have to tilt them at the exact angle, otherwise it looks like the glasses are not working. But if you move them, there's a nose piece, and if you move it, you can then get the words to come up. They some of them click, some of them don't. But I just want to emphasize that it might be that you don't have them positioned correctly. And they also comment that they're a little heavy, so sometimes you take a Band-Aid and put it across your nose because the glasses can be heavy. But they work wonderfully.
Thank you. This is Anne Mundell-Noel. I'm introducing you. She is our audiology advisor for the Hearing Well Club, and she comes to all the meetings, and it's a good opportunity. Before the meeting, after the meeting, if you have a specific technical question, she's available. Yes?
This is again a movie suggestion, not a travel suggestion, but I found that device at Aliso Viejo was very heavy and uncomfortable. However, if you go to Regency Director's Cut, they have a different device, and that works perfectly for me. It's a device that goes into the soda holder and is closed caption, and you move it to any height you want, and you don't have to have it sitting on your nose.
I tried those, they kept falling off on my lap.
Well, that system is called Captive View, and it's like a rear view mirror, but it's not a mirror, but it's just a plastic piece, and it's on a gooseneck that goes into the drink holder. And I had the same thing. It keeps falling down all the time. So I have to wind up holding it, and as I didn't care for that. So, oh well. Okay. Let's go over here. So what you need to know about traveling with a hearing aid and a cochlear implant or a cochlear implant. You definitely want to wear your hearing aids throughout your entire travel experience. You'll get through security a lot better because you'll be able to hear when people are talking to you, when the TSA or somebody in security or the ticket counter. You don't want to miss what they're saying. So be sure and wear your devices throughout your entire travel experience. I want to talk about what to pack. So it probably makes sense to pack extra hearing aid batteries. That makes sense. You may need wax guards, remote controls, and other tools. And if you're going internationally, make sure that you have power adapters for your electrical charging devices. That's really important. I also have on here is that you either take a power strip, or what I do, because I have so many things that need to be charged, and there's never enough plugs in the hotel room. So I got myself one of these things, so it turns 1 into 3, and it's heavy duty, and it's fits in my bag pretty easily, so I just put that in my checked baggage. It could even go on a carry-on, but I found that to be very helpful. Yeah. Well, if you need one, you would get one. So there's some people that have excessive wax, and it's a little accessory that goes in with your ear mold. So if you have excessive wax and it plugs up your hearing aid, you need to talk to your hearing aid provider about a wax guard. There's also things such as hearing aid saver. This is my memory is really going bad. This is a device that'll help dry out your hearing aids. It's got desiccant. That's the word I was trying to think. So you put your hearing aids or your cochlear implants in here. This is perfect for travel. And you leave it in there overnight since you're not wearing them when you sleep, and it'll help take the moisture out. So it'll be ready to go for the next day. And it's non-electric. It's very economical, so recommend you use that. Also, pack all of your hearing aid paraphernalia in your carry-on, right next to your medication. Don't pack it in checked baggage. If you got separated from your, I was traveling with, my mother was traveling to me when I was living in Washington, D.C., and she was flying from California to Virginia, the airport in Virginia, but her bag went to Madrid. And she didn't have a carry-on. She wanted to travel light. So do carry things like medication and all of your hearing aid paraphernalia that you can't live without. And if you have a cochlear implant, if you have an extra hearing aid, or if you have an extra cochlear implant, bring that too. Because when I first got a cochlear implant, I didn't think about bringing a spare processor with me. But then, when you find yourself, you don't have it, it's broken, you step on it, you crunch it, like I crunched my glasses earlier this week. Things happen, and you need a spare. Well, my gosh, that really would spoil your trip if you couldn't hear. So, be sure that you bring a spare. And just assume that your luggage will be lost. So pack that way. Just think about all the things you need to put in that carry-on. Let's talk about travel by air. Try to make your reservations way in advance. And if you're buying your ticket online, there's usually an opportunity where you can check that you have a disability. Now, I've done that. And I put down I had a hearing disability. And wouldn't you know, this really nice guy came with a wheelchair to help me out. Hearing loss, no wheelchair. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm fine. Anyway, so that may happen to you. If there's not a place to do that, and if you're making your airline reservation online, please ask the operator or explain to the operator that you're a person with a hearing loss and you want to be marked as a person with a disability. Sometimes they can put that in your traveling profile, especially if you use the same airline. They can usually put that in your profile. TSA Cares. This is really one of the first things you need to do, and I have some cards back here. Here's the TSA Cares card. If you have a knee replacement or a hip replacement, cochlear implant, these are things that might concern screening and checking. So you want to call them and find out if you need special screening, because you maybe should not go through the X-ray, or there's also the metal detectors. So check with the manufacturer of your devices to find out about air travel, what works, what doesn't. And also be sure and call TSA Cares and ask them what kind of screening would be best for you. Where do you go for it? Because you don't necessarily want to stand in line just to find out that you could have skirted around and gotten special screening. In some cases, they'll do a full body pat down, or a wand test. If you have difficulty standing, you'll have your examination, I guess you would call it, your screening when you're sitting down. But find out in the airport that you're going exactly what the procedure is for the condition you have. So do that in advance so that there's no surprises. TSA Screening Seniors. So passengers that are 75 and older can receive a form of expedited screening. What that means is, and I haven't seen anybody check IDs, but I guess if you look like you're 75, you can leave your shoes on and your light jacket on. So that's kind of nice to know. Now, if you are going through with your shoes and your light jacket and an alarm goes off, then all bets are off. You've got to go through and you've got to take the shoes and the jacket off. They got to figure out what it is that set the alarm off. So, just so that it's partial expedited screening. Also. If you have hearing aids, there should be no problem going through any screening process. And actually, modern-day cochlear implants, that where you wear a processor behind the ear, they're not really known to have a problem. The old body processors, if you have a body processor, sometimes those would set off an alarm. Okay. I want to talk about TSA PreCheck. So how many people have TSA PreCheck? Do you know what that is? Yeah. I tell you, it's worth it. It's really worth it. This is for anybody. And certainly if you have a disability, this will be it'll add to your trip and it'll reduce a lot of your stress and anxiety. So TSA PreCheck, it's an application process. It's $85. They do a background check on you. And it's good for 5 years. And the benefits are you go through a special line, which is fast. Usually it's 5 minutes. Usually it's 5 minutes getting through the line, where everybody else is. I went traveling with my mother one time, and we were traveling together, and I had TSA PreCheck, and she didn't. And I just zipped right through the TSA PreCheck, and I waited a good 20, 30 minutes for her on the other side. So, you leave your shoes on. If you have a laptop, you don't have to pull it out. What are the other things here? Oh, you don't have to remove your belt. You don't have to remove your jacket, and you don't have to show them your liquids in your bag. You don't have to pull them out. You can keep them packed in your bag, in your carry-on. And it just makes things so nice to do that. Have you enjoyed that experience? Yeah. What's really enjoyable is watching all those people. You pass all these people when you're... So if you're planning a trip for summer or late spring, whatever, start that process now because it takes some time. It takes a little time to get it. Yep. All right. Let's talk about walking through a metal detector, which I've sort of already mentioned that. You may hear a little buzzing in your hearing aid or your cochlear implant. It's normal, nothing wrong. Just turn your volume down and just keep on going. And when you go through the check, just have your ID card with you in case they make you go back and... it shouldn't set off any alarms, but anyway, just be aware that there's nothing wrong. There are alternatives to walking through a metal detector or an X-ray, and I mentioned that that's a wand inspection. That's where they kind of wand you all over and all around your legs, and a visual. It's a visual and a physical inspection. They pat you all down, and if that's uncomfortable to you, you can ask to go into a private room. And because I think I would be really embarrassed if they did that to me. But getting ready to board the plane. When you check in, be sure and tell them you have a hearing loss, and see if they can put that in your travel profile. I mentioned that. Sign up for alerts. The airline usually has alerts in their on the smartphone, on their app. Like I have Southwest, so I go into my Southwest app and I set alerts, which has been very, very helpful because sometimes they change gates or whatever, and I can feel that they're sending me an alert, and I can make the change. But also, and this does not always work, but I try to tell the people at the gate, I said, now I'm a person with a hearing loss. If there's been any changes at all, please come and tell me because I may not hear it. And then I've had people change shifts and go away, and you know, I've been close to missing flights. You are responsible for making sure that you get on that plane. So you really need to have that conversation, even if it's uncomfortable, with the attendant at the gate. And you can ask them to pre-board. Hearing loss is a disability. Anybody with a disability is entitled to pre-board. And they can't ask you, they can't say, well, you don't look disabled. They can't do that. And I've had some people give me dirty looks, but, you know, I pre-board. So I usually go on after the children, and then after the wheelchairs, they let me on. And that's great, because not only am I assured to be getting on, but I have an extra few moments to put my bags up in the rack, and it's just much more comfortable. Yes, Joyce?
I was going to say, for those of us who have this, all I do is show this.
Yeah.
Internationally or domestically, they take part on.
She has her driving handicap, but you don't even need to do that, because legally and technically they can't ask you what disability you have. You just say, I have a disability, I have a hearing loss. Sometimes I tell them I'm deaf. Because hearing loss is different for different. There's people that have very mild hearing loss, and then there's people like me that's profound. And so it's just easier for me to tell them that I'm deaf. Okay. Once you're on the plane, hearing aids and cochlear implants will not interfere with navigating instruments. So when they tell you to turn off your devices, that doesn't mean you have to turn off your hearing aids and your cochlear implant. So if you're ever worried about that. If you're traveling alone, consider telling your seat neighbor that you're a person with a hearing loss. And I usually do this all the time, especially if they look friendly. One time I had a little Doberman Pinscher that was my seatmate. He wasn't very cooperative, but he was a toy. He's a little toy dog. He was a travel companion. I don't know. And it is helpful because there's a lot of times there's announcements I don't hear. I didn't understand. I heard it, didn't understand it. And so I would say, well, can you tell me what did they say? And I haven't had anybody have a problem with that. And I would also tell the stewardess. That's very important. Tell the steward what do they call them? Flight attendant. That's it, flight attendant. I'm showing my age. They don't call them stewardesses anymore. Okay. It's really important to tell the flight attendant because, you know, right at the end, when they're getting ready to land, and the engine revs up, and she's giving gate announcements where, you know, if you're going on this flight, take this gate or this. I don't hear any of those, so I need them to come and tell me. So I've already let her know that I need to know my gate assignment. Sometimes she'll go get it right away, and then I'll have it before anybody else. So, which is a good idea. They generally know this information ahead of time. And be sure that when you take equipment, I wanted to say, if you want to watch a movie, or be sure to bring earbuds if that's what you use, or headsets. You can wear headsets over hearing aids. On a hearing aid, the microphone is at the top, so you want to kind of wear it headsets usually have, it's a universal size plug, so you just bring your own so you don't have to rent it for $5. And you just put it on, but wear it a little bit high so that it's over the microphone. If you put it completely down on your ear, you may not experience enough volume. So you want to make sure that the sound goes like that, so you can adjust the headset. And if you use earbuds like on a cell phone, those work too. I don't recommend that you remove your hearing aids on a plane. My mother lost one. Didn't even realize that she had lost it. This was really light and it fell off, and then by the time she realized it was gone, there's no way to go back and check. So keep them on. And bring your own headphones if you want to watch a movie or listen to in-flight. They have in-flight television, and they have music. Or if you're bringing your own device like an iPad or a laptop, and you can listen to that. Okay. Lodging. So this is the hotel motel experience that Susan was talking about. She was talking about a guest kit that they have. You have to insist, when you make your reservations, which should be well in advance, this is when you tell them, I have a hearing loss, and I would like to have a accessible, you want the hearing loss kit. If you ask for an accessible room, you're going to get the low toilets and the low mirrors, and you're going to get the safety rails in the tub, and you may need those as well, but you're not going to get anything for hearing loss. You have to be very specific. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I don't know what that is. So anticipate that when you ask for an ADA hearing loss kit, that they probably wouldn't know what you're talking about. I had a friend visiting from Texas who was staying at the Ayers Hotel over here by the community center, and I said, "Oh, did you arrange for an ADA kit?" And she says, "No, what's that?" And I said, "Oh boy, okay, we're going to have a nice visit." So we got up to the registration desk, and I asked for it, and of course the attendant there didn't know what I was talking about, but went and got the manager, who had a clue. She says, "Okay, I think I know what it is you want." And she went off, and she brought back this box, and we dusted it off. And I said, "Okay, this is it. This is it." And I'm going to show you a picture of one in just a minute. But before I show you that, well, let's see if I can go right to the next picture. Okay, so this is a basic ADA hotel kit, and this is their Econo. So what you see over here on the side with the hanger, that is a door knocker. So you can just put that on the door, on the inside is fine. And when somebody knocks on the door, let's just see if I can get any of this to work. Oh, it's not plugged in. Let's just see if I can. Okay. Susan, who told her story, now has one of these in her home. Okay. So if I was, this is, okay, I rang the doorbell, and this will sit gently wake you up. It'll gently wake you up, and you won't bother your neighbors. And you can hit snooze and get another 5 minutes sleep, and then. So this actually has 2 alarms on it, but it's also connected to the door knocker, and also there's another little box there. That box gets attached to the smoke detector. You see that? You see the other box right below the door knocker. So when the smoke alarm goes off, and that's right next to it, it notifies you by shaking the bed. And you'll sleep much better. But the thing is, the funny thing is, a lot of you don't think about the issues of not being able to hear in a hotel. And don't depend on your spouse, your hearing spouse, because they may not always be right there with you. That situation happened at an HLAA convention in Boston. So the husband went out jogging, and the wife is sleeping in, and the smoke alarm went off. And everybody's bailing out of the hotel, but she's sound asleep. And he is so worried, and they won't let him back in. Everything turned out fine. This has a good ending. But it's an interesting story because, she always depended on her husband to be her second pair of ears. And so they may not always be there. And you may actually have a husband whose ears aren't very good. we have a couple here. They both have hearing loss. Yeah. So this type of device, this is a basic ADA hotel kit for people with hearing loss, and there's all kinds of them. There's ones that does anybody here use a TTY? TTY? You probably don't even know what a TTY is. Okay, that's okay. I'm not going to get into it. They haven't really been in. Now that you have texting and all of that, no. Also, there's another device. That's what this little one here. This is a telephone amplifier, which you also probably won't use. But if you do want to use the phone that is in your room and you need amplification, they need to provide that as well. And that phone attaches to this box. So that too will cause the bed to shake and the light to flash. This is called a notification system. I've been using one since 1999. And because I live alone, and so I would miss the door. My dog sleeps on my bed with me. She's just about 12 pounds. And when I have my hearing instruments out and she hears a coyote outside or some kind of ruckus, and she's just barking like crazy, I don't hear her. She might wake me up just because the bed, she's jumping up and down, but I don't hear it. So it's really important that you feel safe in your own home. So these are available. There are some, you have assistive technology guides. I don't know how many I have, but they're in there as well. This kit here, this one, I think it's $350. If the hotel does not have a kit, they have to provide one. It's the American Disabilities Act. It's a law, and that's why you want to call and make that request, so they have lots of time to figure it out. If you have to let them know at least 3 days before your arrival in the hotel. Yes.
The telephone device you just talked about, does it amplify the receiver on your telephone? The white box. Yeah.
It's an inline amplifier. So you take the plug from the phone and plug it into this, and then the handset gets plugged in on the other side. It's just in between the phone and the handset. You could use that at home as well if you just need a smidgen of amplification. But California telephone access can provide you with one of those, but even better, they can provide you with a phone that is built-in amplification. Yeah, and last month, if you missed last month's meeting, we had Caption Call here, and everybody that I installed phones in 2011 and 12, they all ordered their brand new with speakerphone, built-in answering machine, all that. It was wonderful. So, do you have a Caption Call phone?
I got one this week.
You got one this week, and I know that Liz over there, Lisa got one. She had it installed today. And yes, Alex, yeah, I installed yours originally back in...
Crawled under my desk.
I crawled under the desk. Yeah, I stopped installing phones because of those occasions where I would have to crawl under a desk and I couldn't get back up. So I have a funny hip. Okay. Also, I would definitely tell the clerk that you are deaf or you're hard of hearing. If there is an emergency in the room, even if you have a kit, you want them to know that the first responders need to come to your room first because you are considered disabled. So you want that assistance. Consider not using the bolt lock so that if necessary, hotel staff, fire staff, emergency staff can enter your room and let them know that you're going to do that. And you just have to decide if you're comfortable with that or not. It's just a suggestion, a consideration. If you're traveling with, what happened here? If you're traveling with people like Susan, she was traveling with a group of ladies, something that she could have done is given a spare key, an extra key, to one of her travel mates so that they could get into the room if necessary. Just something to consider. Caption television. All televisions in the hotel are now required to provide captioning, but it may be difficult to access. It's getting better and better and better because sometimes they have a special button right on the remote, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to go into the menu. Don't hesitate to ask the hotel for instructions if you need that. But just know that all televisions are required to have captioning. Okay. Also, if you have a cochlear implant, or you have a smartphone, or even a cell phone, and sometimes a smartphone case, it can demagnetize the hotel key. So you may want to keep it separate from your all your devices. I keep my cell phone in here, and of course it would be my thing to put my hotel key in this little pocket. No, I would not do that. I have to find another place to put it. It's too close, and it would demagnetize, and then that would mean several trips down to the front desk to get another key made. And then you're locking your spouse out because they don't have the latest key. Okay. What to do in case of an emergency? Please plan this in advance. Please plan to have your identification your identification with you all the time, and keep it. Have an emergency identification card. You can. I actually provide a link of where you can create one online. You just fill in the spaces and say print, and then it'll print out just the right size. You can slip it in your wallet. But you want to provide who to contact in case of an emergency. When you're out of town and something happens and you don't know anybody, that information can be found in your wallet right next to your driver's license. There's also something called ICE, in case of an emergency. This was a really good idea in the beginning. This is something you can do on your smartphone. You can put in a place to put in your emergency information. But if you use a passcode, and lock your phone when you're not using it, then emergency personnel aren't going to be able to reach that information. So it started out as a good idea. And so, but if you don't lock your phone, then you might want to use that. There are some phones where that information will show up on the lock screen. So that's something you might want to look at and see if your particular make and model provides that. Oops. So this is what it would look like. It's just one simple screen, name, and emergency contact. So it would be the name of the person, the relationship, their phone number, your doctor's phone number, your pharmacy, and any other information you need to provide. If you have a cochlear implant, it's a good idea if you have a cochlear implant identification card on you, so that if you're in an ambulance or something, they know that you can't have an MRI, unless, of course, you have a Med-L. A Med-L. Anyway, Med-L people know that. And I have a whole list of travel links. If you have access to the internet, is there anybody that doesn't have email or doesn't have internet? Because if you're a Laguna Woods resident, you can go to the PC Club workshop anytime. You just have to show them that your resident card, and you can use any one of the 30 computers that are there, right, Judy? Judy's a volunteer there. She's a greeter. She checks everybody's ID card. And if you need some help getting to what you need, they have supervisors on duty. They're volunteers as well. That can help you find what you need. So, and you don't have to be a member of the PC Club. You just have to be a resident of Laguna Woods Village and go to the PC Club workshop, which is in the community center. Yep. Okay. There's one whole, we have a little bit more time, and there's one whole thing that I didn't even put into my presentation that I'd like to talk about, is when you're on tours. So if you are, like say you have a staycation, you know, where you're going to go to Disneyland, and say you were going to take a tour, you can request assistive listening devices for tours. And usually the tour guides are wearing a transmitter into a microphone. And if you ask, you should be able to get a receiver. So this looks like a typical receiver. They don't all look exactly like this, but this is pretty typical. It works with headphones. But if you have a t-coil, you can request a loop, a neck loop. Hey, Josh, can you open that up for me? Kind of put you to work there. Thank you. Okay. By the way, in Clubhouse 5, Clubhouse 6, the devices you borrow there, you can use a neck loop. And they have them. You could just say, I need a listening device with a neck loop. So in absence of a room loop, you can have a personal neck loop. And this gets plugged into the receiver. And then you turn on your telecoils and adjust the volume to your preference. And so this is a tour guide setup. All tours usually offer this. So if you're making reservations for a tour, ask if they have assist devices. This device, similar to this, is also available in movie houses. They may not have a neck loop. They're coming around. They may not have neck loops. I know that the Aliso Viejo Theater, they do have neck loops. I went there one time and I asked for a neck loop. They said, oh, we don't have neck loops. I said, oh, yeah, you do. So I made them dig a little deeper, and they found one. So tours, museums, they all have assistive technology. So you should be able, walking tours, wherever you go, this should be available. You know, especially those trolleys. That's the only thing that, you know, they have town trolleys. You ever been on a town trolley? I've never seen that they have those there, but that may, it's been a while since I've been on a trolley. But I would definitely ask. You don't need reservations for that, but it would be a good idea to check. Yes, Ann?
That's the same unit as the Seeger Strom. So they'll plug to the
Yes. The Segerstrom Theater in Costa Mesa, they have caption performances once a month on a Saturday. Thank you. And they provide assistive listening devices. Doesn't look exactly like this, but it works the same way. If you have t-coil, you can use a loop. You can use a personal loop if they don't have a hearing loop. Or you can use a headset. And again, this headset can be used, in conjunction with the microphones that are in your hearing aids. Okay. Is there any questions that anybody has? Any travel plans coming up or any concerns that you have? Do you have
Without a hearing aid, can you get a personal loop on eBay and use it here?
I didn't understand you.
Okay, if you don't have a hearing aid, can you get a personal loop on eBay and use it here?
No. Loops require t-coil. You can use a headset. Use
So,
a head.
okay, so-
use a headset. If
So
you
you would
don't
use
have
a-
hearing aids, use a headset. Yeah. So just t-coils and t-coils and loops go together. You cannot use a hearing loop without t-coil.
So just to clarify, the headset goes into the receiver, not into the loop. The loop is the piece that goes around your neck that plugs into the receiver. The receiver is the piece that talks to the system. I can talk to you after.
So I have this headset plugged into the receiver.
I always
Yes.
thought when you wore a headset, you had to take out your hearing aids because they squeal or something.
You know,
And
in Clubhouse 7, until they got the hearing loop, they had a device. It's sort of like TV ears, and it actually went into the ears. It was very unsanitary, and if you had hearing aids, you really wouldn't be able to use it. So I'm so glad they got rid of that system.
So her comment was, do you put the headset over your hearing aids and do you get whistle? It depends on the amount of hearing loss you have, whether or not you would get feedback or not. But you could try it. And Toni was saying in the beginning, the microphones on the hearing aids are up towards the top and the back. So when you put the headset on, you put it and try to go over the microphone. Don't put the headset down here because you're putting it to a piece of plastic. You want to put it up. If you're going to wear your hearing aids, try to wear it higher. But it's an individual thing. Anybody else have questions for her?
Here we go.
Well, question is probably for GRF. How can we get GRF to be more consistent about our hearing loss in the clubhouses? I think that all the classrooms where the emeritus hold their classrooms should have the loop. I had to drop out of a class for Spanish because I could not hear the class.
Well,
And
you know, I've been
and the bridge room.
So one of the problems with emeritus is that they bring their own everything. They bring their own speaker. They don't use GRF equipment. So the question in this case, and it needs to be looked at in each case, but is to actually talk to the president of the Emeritus Club, not club, but organization. So, and Saddleback has an emeritus department, and so there's somebody that's the head of that department, and really that's where we need to be addressing it. Okay, so Clubhouse 4 is the only clubhouse that does not have any, GRF does not have any technology in there, because it's not really considered, it's not a traditional classroom, but I know what you're talking about. I know that you have art classes and things like that. And there are things they could do, but Emeritus would have to supply it. And there's no reason why they couldn't. The school system, they would have to supply, the teacher would have to bring their own speaker box, microphone, and devices. So.
But still, GRF could install the loop in certain what you call media rooms, or just like this.
A loop would only work on an existing audio system, and they have no audio systems in Clubhouse 4.
No, in 5 though, Clubhouse.
Oh, 5, okay, the small classrooms don't have anything. Just the big ballroom has FM systems, radio systems. Yeah, you have a question.
I just wanted to know, where did you purchase your hearing aid saver container?
Oh, you know, you can ask your audiologist or hearing aid dispenser. They have those available. And, you know, if you want to go online, there's Harris Communications has a variety of, I mean, they have a ton of assistive technology and accessories. But probably the first place to go is to talk to your hearing aid dispenser or audiologist.
And if they don't, we have them $8.
Okay, so Ann can sell you one. She's her office is located over by Trader Joe's. Ultimate Hearing. I know. I just every once in a while I feel like we've got a little spark here, and it just kind of interrupts my thought. Does anybody else have that?
Anybody else have questions?
Do you have that? Do you have that every? Sometimes I go to talk and I can't get the words out. Does that happen to you?
Yes.
I think it happens to all of us. I'm joining the ranks, so. You know, I know that George, who's in the back here, is going to go cruising. I don't have a lot of advice for cruising. So cruises are owned by usually international companies that don't have the ADA. The American Disabilities Act does not apply. That doesn't mean that if you ask, you can get some assistance. If you're using a travel agent, I would indoctrinate them and ask them to see if they can make the arrangement for you. I have people in Florida, the Hearing Loss Association of America in Florida. They have an annual trip that they make to the Caribbean, and they have a travel agent that works very closely with the cruise lines, and they provide complete accessibility. They provide assistive devices for the shows and the movies, and in the dining room when somebody's speaking on the microphone. So it is possible, but it takes effort. And the cruise line they want to have more, passengers. So, but we need to ask. We need to start. We need to be a voice. We have to create awareness about hearing loss. And in that, I'm going to say, I hope you all come back, all you new people, you come back, because there's tips for next month in May. May is Better Speech and Hearing Month. And Anne is actually going to present next month. And she's going to show us how hearing aids are getting smarter and how we can use smartphones to improve our comprehension in both quiet and noisy environments. So if you don't have a smartphone, she will talk about how you can do it on a computer to help improve your hearing. So get up to speed with the latest technology and how we're connecting with smartphones. Okay? And my last thing, before I say goodbye for today. The Hearing Well Club our funds are running low. And if you can afford to put a couple dollars in the donation, it would really help defray the cost of printing. And I send out postcards, which I'm pretty much going to stop doing that because our bank account is getting so low. So please donate, and if you're already a member, that helps. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next month.
Thank you,
Hi,
Toni.
Toni here. I just wanted you to know that if you look below on your screen and you see a red subscribe button, if you click on that, you can subscribe to the Hearing Well Club YouTube channel. And when you do that, you'll be notified in your email whenever I upload a new video. Also, in the lower bar, you'll notice there's a CC button. And that CC button, if you click on that, you'll see captions. Just trying to make it easy for you to enjoy the videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.